So let's talk about stress and depression, but we're going to go way beyond the surface level here. We're going to look at them not as problems that you need to fix, but as really important messages. Messages from our psychology, from our neurology, and maybe even from a deeper spiritual part of ourselves.
But first, let me just ask you something straight up. Are you constantly tired? I mean, even after you've had what should be a full night's sleep. That kind of bone-deep exhaustion that just no amount of coffee seems to touch.
And what about what's going on inside your head? Does your mind just feel noisy, heavy, or maybe like it's a broken record just stuck on repeat, playing the same worries and anxieties over and over and over again?
And when you really check in with yourself, what's the core feeling there? Is it that frantic, buzzing, high-wire energy of stress? Or the constant, low-level hum of anxiety? Or is it something quieter, something heavier, a kind of quiet, deep-seated depression?
Look, if any of that is ringing a bell for you, then this conversation, it's for you. Because this is the most important part. These feelings are not personal failures. It's not because you're weak or flawed. They are signals. They're like alarm bells from your body and your mind, telling you that there's a deeper imbalance that really deserves your compassionate attention.
All right, so here's the game plan for how we're going to unpack this. First, we'll look at the invisible pressure from the world around us. Then, we'll zoom in on how our mind and brain respond to it all. After that, we'll explore the soul's cry for truth, this idea of misalignment. We'll even get into some really cool stuff about identity and awareness. And finally, we'll tie it all together to see how this understanding is the actual first step toward healing.
Okay, let's dive right into part 1, the world's invisible pressure. To really get what's going on inside, we have to start by looking at the environment we're all swimming in, because it's a lot.
I mean, think about this paradox for a second. We are, without a doubt, the most digitally connected society in all of human history. Yet, somehow, loneliness and total burnout are through the roof. So, what's going on here? How does that even make sense?
Well, it's because our modern world puts us on this treadmill, a constant, relentless chase. We're always chasing productivity to prove we're valuable. We're chasing validation online just to feel seen. We're chasing this feeling of security in a world that feels anything but. And we're chasing an identity that's built on our achievements. And all this chasing, it keeps our nervous systems fired up 24/7 with no off switch.
And this is maybe the single most important thing to get. I want you to really let this sink in. Your stress is not a sign of weakness. Your depression is not a sign of laziness. They are perfectly intelligent, logical responses from your system to an environment that has simply become overwhelming.
Okay, so that's the outside world pressing in. But what's actually happening inside of us? That brings us to part 2, the mind and brain's response.
Psychologically, the definition of stress is actually pretty simple. It's what happens when the demands being placed on you feel way bigger than the resources you have to deal with them. It's basically the moment your brain goes from, okay, I can handle this, to, whoa, nope, system's overloaded.
And you can see how these two states are really two sides of the same coin. Stress is that voice screaming, go, 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 I can't stop, I have to keep pushing. But when that system completely burns out, that's often when depression sets in. It's the system slamming on the brakes, whispering, what's the point? Why even try? And this isn't just a feeling, it's actual chemistry. Chronic stress literally locks your brain into survival mode. Your stress hormone, cortisol, is always high. Your amygdala, that's your brain's little fear center, it becomes overactive, seeing threats everywhere. And the most important part, your prefrontal cortex, the part that gives you clarity and a sense of meaning, it starts to go offline.
But let's go a layer deeper now. What if all this biology is actually pointing to something bigger? This brings us to part 3, the soul's cry for truth. This is the idea that these feelings pop up when the life we're living just isn't aligned with who we truly are.
From a spiritual point of view, these really tough feelings aren't random. They're a kind of guidance. It's that little whisper inside that gets louder and louder when you're doing all the right things on the outside, but you feel totally empty on the inside. It's your soul, your deeper self, basically tapping you on the shoulder and saying, hey, listen, this isn't it. This isn't the life you actually came here to live. All right, now we're going to take a pretty big leap into the world of metaphysics and even quantum science. Now, stick with me here because this perspective can be a total game changer in how you see all of this.
So much of our stress, honestly, comes from a simple case of mistaken identity. On the one hand, there's who we think we are, our job, our achievements, what other people think about us. But from this deeper perspective, that's not who you are. Who you truly are is the pure awareness that is simply watching all of that stuff happen.
And this connects to a fundamental law of the universe, really. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. Think about it. Stress forces your attention onto everything that could go wrong in the future. Depression collapses your attention inward, on everything that's already gone wrong. Your focus literally creates your felt reality. And this leads to the most liberating idea of all. I really want you to hear this. Your thoughts can be stressed, your body can feel depressed. But the part of you that is aware of the thoughts, the part of you that is aware of the feelings, that silent observer inside you is completely untouched. It's always calm, it's always whole. And just knowing that creates a little bit of space, and that space is freedom.
Okay, so we've looked at this from all these different angles. The world, the brain, the soul, even quantum physics. So what do we do with all this? How does this understanding actually start the healing process? Let's get practical.
This is probably the best analogy I've ever heard for this. Imagine your nervous system is an electrical circuit. Stress is just way too much current, too much electricity flooding the system. It's an overload. And depression? Depression is the circuit breaker, flipping off to shut everything down so the whole system doesn't fry. It's a protective mechanism. So the solution isn't to force the breaker back on, it's to reduce the electrical load.
So how do we reduce that load? Well, it's not about fighting harder or pushing through. It's actually the opposite. It starts with these gentle steps. We find ways to actively slow down our nervous system. We practice not getting so tangled up with our thoughts, not identifying with them. We learn to just allow our emotions to be there without judging them as good or bad. And slowly, we reconnect with what truly gives us meaning, not what the world pressures us to do. This really brings us to the final, most crucial takeaway. Please, try to see it this way. Your depression is not your enemy. It is not something you need to go to war with. It is a messenger, a very wise, even if painful, messenger that is asking you for three things: for truth, for deep rest, and for a profound reconnection with yourself.
So if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling depressed, and you take nothing else away from our time together, please just hear this one thing. You are not broken. You are a human being having an intelligent, protective response to a deeply challenging world. You don't need to be fixed. You are not broken.